occurrences just beyond the reach of understanding.
Hey, Mike, it's Patreon exclusive episode time, and we've got a wacky one, but a cool one.
Yeah, wacky, but quite, it's wacky and wonderful in a weird, wild way.
Thank you, Johnny Carson. Yes.
Weird, wild.
No, I love the story.
I do too.
I was going to ask you, like, Mike, are you familiar with a book title known as The Wilderness Hunter? Now act like you don't know what we're going to talk about, and I'll say, Mike.
Okay. The Wilderness Hunter.
Are you familiar with that book?
I am not familiar with that book.
Mike, do you know then that was written by, which you obviously don't know, it was written by former president of the United States, our 26th president.
Milford B. Hayes.
No. Just call him Wilford.
What number was he?
Well, his name was Rutherford.
Yeah, well, we had
Rutherford. And you said Wilford. So
okay, all the same thing to me.
No, this is our 26th, and
it's all politics.
Theodore Roosevelt. I call him Teddy. We're like this, Teddy and I.
Yeah, it was awesome. I am a big fan.
You like Teddy? You're a Teddy fan.
I tell you, Patrick, you want to see some Teddy Roosevelt stuff? You come out to Medora with Mary and I.
I tell you what, though, man. I you know me. I am a presidential nut. I mean, not nearly as much as I used to be. I feel like I've forgotten a lot more than I've ever learned. But I mean, I could spark that memory again sometime. But all politic talk aside, all Democrat, Republican, whatever the hell you are and stuff. This is a president.
Nothing.
This is a president. Yeah, I know you are. This is a president who I think both sides can admire for several different reasons. And of course, both can argue against him and stuff. But man, what a man of just strength. And whether or not you believed with what he pushed, a man of integrity, and he said it like it was, and he was not one to know. He wasn't known to be a boastful braggart, a liar, I should say.
You're right. I think what you got out of him, it was like, he was putting it to you.
It was straightforward.
The only way that he knew how to do it.
Exactly. So The Wilderness Hunter, a book written by Teddy Roosevelt. Again, I call him Ted. No, Teddy.
Which actually, not to cut in on you here, but
no, it's fine.
But I'm going to do it. Teddy Roosevelt did not start out as the healthy, robust man that he turned out to be. I mean, growing up, he was rather ill and skinny and
absolutely,
like the kind of sitting on the bleachers in gym class because he got a tummy ache kind of guy.
Well, and he also, didn't he suffer his eye injury from a boxing match or something like that?
He was a boxer,
because he got. I mean, we're not going to talk about Teddy Roosevelt here, but he got really, really into physical fitness, and he was.
This sets the stage, though, for the story.
It does, absolutely, and he was very. And we've used the term rugged already because he was an extremely rugged outdoorsman, a hunter. He is. He's known for his. Well, let's just say it. If it weren't for Teddy Roosevelt, a lot of our preserved national,
they'd be gone.
Right, exactly. Yeah. The lands that we just cherish would. Yeah, they'd be covered in buildings right now, basically.
Yeah, and that's why he loved Medora so much. I mean, he hunted there, out in western North Dakota, and it's beautiful out there. And his cabin is out there that he had, and just amazing. A lot of history.
Did you also know? I mean, hey, we've already talked about presidential tidbits, so why not talk about it a little bit more? Did you know that he actually suffered a bullet wound to the chest and he still finished out his campaign speech?
Yep. Yeah, I did. I have heard that
later that day.
But that was Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly, carry a big stick. Obviously, his big motto.
Fifth cousin of the future President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Fifth cousin, and also just in case,
he had a thing for his wife, but then it didn't work out.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that path there.
Yeah, she didn't care for men too much, I guess.
Well, I guess what can you say? What can you say?
Anyway, carry on.
Well, I don't wayward son. Where was I going? Oh, in case you
blew it out of your head.
In case you get this presidential quiz, who was the youngest president ever? Yes, it was Teddy Roosevelt, 42 years of age, the youngest United States president ever, but not, this is where it gets tricky, not the youngest elected president ever. Whoa, jeepers creepers, those dogs. No, Teddy became president upon the assassination of William McKinley at 42 years old. He was obviously the vice president at that time.
He did not finish his speech before he went and got...
Did not. No. And the youngest elected president, though, was somebody named John F. Kennedy. So
right, that's what I was going to say. I bet it was him.
Yes, absolutely. Not Joe Biden, contrary to popular belief.
He's the oldest. He's the oldest.
Oh, man, alive. Anyways, enough with the political stuff, but the Wilderness Hunter, a book written by Mr. Teddy Roosevelt.
And I bet it's an awesome book.
I would love to get it. 191 pages, published in 1893. Mike's dogs are going nuts right now. It was basically talking about Teddy's days of adventure out hunting. It heavily focuses on the life of grizzly bears that he was, studying. I mean, yes, he was hunting, but he provided a lot of learned information, very much appreciated, about wildlife.
Yes, his cabin actually, and it's in Medora there. It has like a zebra rug on the floor. And
oh yeah, he traveled across the
walls. Yeah,
he wasn't just a hunter in the United States here in America. No, he went on safaris and he was all over the place. Yeah, it was interesting, that's for sure.
Very.
But I'm going to look at this article that I sent you here, Mike, to give us the gist of this story. And where'd it go? It disappeared. Of course it disappeared. You might have to send that back. No, there it is. I got it. Forget it. This is Patreon exclusive. This is what you get for $1 a month, everybody. Don't take it for granted. This is high quality entertainment and informative.
Well, as much as we can.
And if you enjoy large dogs in the background, that much better.
Yeah, and then when these two large dogs start to play, it's like a thunderstorm on Mount Vesuvius or something.
So, Mike, when this book was published in 1893, what were you up to?
1893?
Yeah, sorry.
I was probably coughing and yelling at dogs.
I was going to say, I got Mike in mid-exhale there. He's coughing profusely, but...
okay.
Yeah, the Teddy Roosevelt and the Montana Incident. This is an article shared from Feathers and Whiskey, a Southern lifestyle magazine. Yeah, baby, Feathers and Whiskey. Teddy Roosevelt and the Montana Incident. Now, this is focusing on an excerpt from Teddy's book, The Wilderness Hunter, as I said, published in 1893, written by the future president, avid sportsman, Theodore Roosevelt. Now, part of the story that we're focusing on is when, this is written down. I want to get this book just for this. Teddy shared a story that he got from an old trapper back in the day. Okay, picture
Dan Haggerty.
Yeah, right.
Denver Pile.
Picture, the raccoon hat on type thing. The grizzled beard.
I think he had a badger hat.
Probably smelled, Who
Are you
knows?
talking about Teddy?
I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. No, I'm talking about this trapper man, actually. So
Oh, yeah.
Referred to
Teddy
as
Roosevelt, the one that the Teddy negligee was named after.
I hope to God that is not true, and I'm almost certain it isn't.
But the teddy bear was.
You know what? Is that true? I think it is. Is it?
I believe so.
You know, the only reason that I'm questioning that is because there is debate about such things like, is the Baby Ruth candy bar named after Babe Ruth? And
that was named after the daughter of the
exactly. A lot of people
owner.
But that was a big argument back in the day because at the peak of Babe Ruth's popularity, a lot of people believed that it was based on him, and I think he kind of thought that too.
Right.
So anyways, I kind of went on a tangent there.
I don't know. Something we can look up.
So this is a story that was told to a young Teddy Roosevelt by a man named Bauman, Bauman, who is referred to in the book's text as a grizzled, weather-beaten old mountain hunter. So picture Mike up there.
Yeah.
with his, is your beard coming back yet? I can see your goatee.
Yeah, I put it back down to just a goatee.
Oh, you're not going to do the beard thing? You gave into...
Oh, I looked really old, and I looked like...
Oh, you didn't like it? Oh, okay.
I looked like destitute.
You look like you should be sitting out on the sidewalk with a tin cup. Yeah.
And a guitar. In a wheelchair with a dog sitting in it.
An out-of-tune guitar that
needs food.
That he cannot play.
And I'm not making fun of homeless people, I'll tell you that.
No, we're making fun of you.
Yes, that's right.
Well, you are, I should say. Now, there are no other details about this alleged grizzled, weather-beaten old mountain hunter. But again, why would Teddy Roosevelt, in his own autobiography... it's not an autobiography, essentially, but writing about his times out in the woods... focusing on this family, a grizzly bear, why would he decide to throw in, I'm going to tell a false tale from an old trapper man?
Right.
I don't know. But there are no other details about this Bauman except that he was of German heritage and had lived all of his life on the frontier. Now, as the story goes, the old mountain man tells the future president that he and an unnamed partner had planned to trap beaver in a remote section of the Montana wilderness near the Wisdom River, now known as the Big Hole.
Beaver Big Hole. Oh, cut that out. Stop it.
This is Patreon. That's not going to be cut out. What are you talking about?
That's enough of that.
That's true, though. That's true. It is now known as the Big Hole.
And why? Is there an explanation?
No. Why does there need to be an explanation for everything?
Because it's stupid, and I want to know why.
Well, maybe it looks like a big hole. And so, therefore, the brilliant mind who discovered it said, you know what? I'm going to call that the Big Hole. Is that not good enough for you?
I'd like to see his wife. Anyway, go ahead.
Now, other hunters avoided the area because it was called the Big Hole. No, I'm kidding. Avoided the area after a trapper's mutilated body was discovered sometime earlier by a group of miners passing by his camp, the grizzled old man's camp. Still, the two men were not to be deterred by the stories told of the area and ventured deep into the remote Montana backcountry. There they made a quick lean-to shelter, and with few hours of daylight left, made their way up the river to scout. As you can tell, I'm reading this article verbatim now.
That's okay.
They returned at dusk to discover their cover destroyed and their belongings scattered around the campsite. Naturally thinking it was a bear, they cleaned up and Bauman set about making supper. His partner left to investigate some tracks, and what he found could not have been made by a bear, but something that walked upright on two legs like a man. You know what we're getting at, Mike. It was Joe Biden.
Beetle.
Okay.
Joe Biden Beetle. Bipedal.
Bipedal Biden. That's who it was. But no man could have...
Bipedal.
I like that name, Joe Bipedal Biden. I like that. But no man could have left these large prints. Story goes on. The trapper returned to camp and told his partner what he had discovered. Bauman scoffed at his partner's concerns, but the man was adamant about his findings. The hunters then settled into sleep, but it would not be a restful night. Sometime before dawn, Bauman was awakened by the sound of breaking branches and, of course, the classic foul-smelling odor. He could see a big hulking shape looming in the distance, and it was Teddy Roosevelt.
In a blue leisure suit.
Right, a blue. That's where Teddy Roosevelt initially got shot. It was from this old grizzled frontiersman. No. After seeing this big...
All of a sudden you hear from in the darkness, I'll have some more of that. It's good. Anyway, Cousin Eddie.
Huge,
dang it,
beastly, bulging man. Because it's not hulking, it's bulging.
Right.
So
it all fits together. Hulking, bulging.
It'd be hilarious. It'd be hilarious if Teddy Roosevelt used the word bulging.
No. Hey, we got never have been elected.
We got a snort out of Mike. Okay, continuing. He could see a huge, big, I'm going to say it, bulging shape looming in the distance and fired at it with his rifle, but whatever it was fled into the darkness. The two men built up the fire and sat up the rest of the night. See, now
I'm done sleeping.
Now I got Cousin Eddie running around in the woods, in my mind right now,
leaving huge footprints in the mud.
Right, exactly.
Those huge footprints from white
those shoes. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
take me to the big hole, Clark. Now, the next morning, they stayed close together and worked their traps. Later, when they returned to camp, they again found the campsite destroyed. Something's going on there, Mike. This time, the men built a more significant fire and agreed the next day to leave the area. In the morning, with the sun shining brightly, Bauman and his partner felt a bit foolish for letting their fears get the best of them. And while Bauman gathered the last of the traps, the other hunter returned to camp to make final preparations to leave. Now, let's stop for a second now. Even back then, before, these grizzled, experienced frontiersmen
that have seen a lot.
They've seen everything, and they're getting freaked out, so much so that they're firing at things in the darkness, not knowing what they're shooting at, and then so much so that they actually feel weird and foolish about that the following day. Like, what the hell, man? What overtook us to make us react this way? Well, you get where we're going at here. Swamp gas coming from the big hole.
Jeez. I did not do that. I didn't say that on purpose. That just came to my head.
Yeah, it was good, though. Now, again, while feeling a bit foolish for letting the fears get the best of them, and while Bauman gathered the last of the traps, the other hunter returned to camp to make final preparations to leave. When Bauman finally returned, this is where it gets nasty. He was greeted by the horrific sight of his partner's body, laid out with a broken neck and bite marks to his throat.
Eviscerated.
Bauman paused only briefly to survey the scene, trying to make sense of what had happened. And then, taking only his rifle, he fled the camp, making it to where the horses had been tied. Now, Bauman makes no mention of what he thought the creature was, and Roosevelt does not call it a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch in his book. But it is undeniable that it has the hallmarks of Bigfoot stories. The foul smell, Mike. The large, bulging body. The classic tracks, the blue leisure suit.
The pendulous breasts
now,
as it runs away.
There you go. Now, Bauman was an old man when he told this story to Roosevelt, and you have to think about it. It's made mention here in the article. It's like you have to think about and take note of how this had to have made an impression, such an impression on him to include it in his book. You know what I'm saying? This
Absolutely.
hit Roosevelt big time. You're like, whoa. I mean, he believed the guy. That's what I'm saying.
I was going to say that he would have to have believed that story.
Yeah.
To even consider that, putting it in his book.
Mike's getting visited by Santa in his sleigh right now, apparently. What was that?
I think it's Rudolph. Disguised as a Great Pyrenees. Right behind me.
Okay, so I do love this story, and that's basically all there really is to that. There's a lot of conjecture, there's lots of stories, there's lots of tales, there's theories about it and stuff. Mike, let's just kind of dive into what that is. That has the classic, as it says, the classic Bigfoot markings, does it not? I'm not saying like literally physical markings, but the smell. I keep on saying bulging, but the hulking, bogging.
Marks.
The only thing that kind of is different to me though is the violence.
Right. And not completely unheard of, but very, very rare. Extremely rare.
Well, even we go back to the Albert Ostman story about him,
right.
Being kidnapped. I mean, there wasn't any violence that he talks about, but he does talk about being extremely fearful, fearing for his life, and he doesn't know if the daddy Bigfoot, for lack of a better term, was going to kind of take it to him there before he escaped. Whoa, Mike, you were not or muted for that one. So,
well, see, if you don't do that at a certain point,
I gotcha.
She'll just keep going.
Well, this is good though, because our patrons can now hear Mike's frightful yelling voice.
Yes, and now she is in her kennel and quiet. That's all it takes she's not always quiet when she gets into her kennel, but. Yeah. But
one of these days, though, all I'm saying right now, and I apologize. It's not Mike's fault. It's not nobody's fault. They're just dogs and stuff. We get it, But if you're trying out Patreon for the first time and you're like, God damn it, we got these dogs in the background.
Yeah, it's not all the time.
Not all the time. And Mike is going to eventually move out into an outdoor shed.
See?
He's going to move out to an outdoor shed, a little conclave of solitude. He's going to bring all of his podcast equipment
and
somewhere.
A bed.
And a bed. A little cot.
And a little fridge.
A fridge. A toilet, probably.
Just a small hot plate. A little storage unit where I can put ding-dongs and ho-hos, and I'll be fine.
Oh, gross. Ding-dongs and ho-hos.
Throw in a Twinkie once in a while, I'll be good.
What awful names, though, by the way. Ding-dongs. Ho-hos.
Twinkie. What fluffy bun? No,
what
not
brilliant minds think of these things?
Yeah.
Let's call that a
grandma's cookie.
A ding dong. Gosh. Anyways, okay, Mike.
A rasher of bacon. Just doesn't sound right. Anyway, go ahead.
I love the story. I think there is.
I do too.
I believe this one wholeheartedly. I think the frontiersman, the old trapper, and his partner probably more than likely encountered a Bigfoot. The only part, again, I'm repeating myself, the only part that makes me leery of it, though I believe it, is the fact that it freaking killed his partner.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, why? Maybe because it was shot at the night before. Maybe it was retaliating, so to speak. Maybe it was angered by being shot at.
Maybe it was actually a bear that did the killing and pinned it on the Bigfoot.
Oh, those wily bears. Damn it.
Yeah. And you get the bear and the fox together and they planned all kinds of crap.
That is a legit possibility though. No one knows that A, there was a Bigfoot there, and B, that it was responsible for, slaughtering this man.
Right.
That could have very well been something else. But then again, bears aren't known to be violent for no damn reason.
No, but there are instances where
they're protective.
Something can, it could have been a wounded bear, an old bear. It could have been an extremely hungry bear.
It could have been a mother protecting its cubs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, how about that possibility? Was there a family of Bigfoot out there? Was this a mother Bigfoot protecting perhaps a little Bigfoot?
Yeah, got a point there.
That's kind of an oxymoronic term. Little Bigfoot. Hey, it works.
He's a tiny wee one. He'll get bigger.
Yeah, he's a little Bigfoot. Right. It's just,
so he hasn't reached puberty yet.
We'll say Sasquatch, though. He's a wee little Sasquatch. So, I mean, I believe it's what caused the demise of this poor trapper. No one knows. Obviously,
Teddy done it to himself, actually.
Gosh, what? Why would you?
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say that would
frightening.
That'd be very flexible on his point.
It could have been a bad acid trip, and anything's possible.
That's very true. Very, very true. I believe the trappers, though. I believe they encountered and saw something. I believe Teddy Roosevelt believed them. He obviously believed them enough to write about it in his book, for God's sakes. So this, again, we talk about this a lot of times, Mike, like eyewitness testimony. Yeah, you can only take it so far, but if you feel that you have the ability to, kind of weed out the bullshit, right? Even if it's an extraordinary tale such as this, an outlandish tale. I mean, I personally think I can look someone in the eye and I'll probably sound foolish saying this, not be fooled. I feel like I can read people. That's just me. I honestly think I can. Even though you are
really good at reading people.
Yeah.
I tend to, and I guess I need to. I can. I mean, I do, but I just, you don't want to be doing that all the time either.
Well, no, but sometimes you can't help it. But you can't help it either. You just
could save your life someday.
I personally get. I know it sounds cheesy and lame. I personally get vibes. You know what I mean?
No, it's not cheesy at all. It's
like
That's That's.
Is that intuitive? Is that intuition?
Sure, absolutely. It's empathic. It's yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm getting at is obviously Teddy believed him for a reason. This is a very strong-willed, straightforward, no-nonsense guy who saw a lot, experienced a lot. I don't think that he would have put something in his book that he did not truly believe happened.
Unless they paid him handsomely.
And we all know how rich those trappers were back in the day.
Yeah, I tell you. They sell a few pelts, I tell you.
So, long story short, I love the story. I truly think that something went down, Mike, and I think we can say that we had a president who definitely was open to the idea that there was such a thing as Sasquatch, and that's not something to sniff at. You know what I'm saying?
I wish that he could have been president in today's world, and maybe he would have been more open to disclosure for alien life.
That's
and
a
UFOs
good
and things like
point. Hell yeah!
So,
you notice that you see stuff like I'm just going back to the last few elections. So we're going back to like Barack Obama when he's running for president, to Hillary Clinton when she's running for president. Not Donald Trump, because I don't think he ever even hit the late night talk show market on certain sides of it. But going back to Bill Clinton and stuff, they would all kind of jokingly talk about the alien / UFO reveal.
Well, if I did, I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, they would seriously say stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then you would never hear anything again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Hillary promised to declassify all this stuff if the moment she became president.
Carter wanted to talk about it.
Carter saw a UFO.
Yeah, experienced it, and he was suppressed, I believe.
But he spoke about it openly.
He did speak about it, but yeah, I'd have to do more research on that.
Well, you think that the people were trying to get him to not talk about it? Is that what you're kind of thinking? Or
what he did talk about, he was probably too much from what higher ups, even from him, would be considered shouldn't be said.
Okay.
There's higher ups. If there's that secret government, there's that black ops thing. If who knows?
I know. By the way, and again, as a quick aside, regardless of your politics,
right.
Carter was recently moved into hospice. He's 98 or something. I mean, what a
life! What a
life! What a humanitarian
after presidency, the humanitarian work that he did. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the biggest contribution he ever did.
And peanuts.
What
Good
a guy!
God, peanuts!
What a guy! So just I don't know why I brought that up. Actually, because we're talking about
be without Billy Beer from his brother. I mean, for crying out loud! Ever tasted that?
No.
Not good.
Anything else? Anything else? So we have a moment or two when the dogs aren't doing anything, and that's your contribution to the episode.
Yeah. I'm holding my mic, in one hand and my thumb over the mute button.
I know.
I'm doing my best.
That's what this will be our shorter than usual Patreon. We do have legit reasons. One being that Mike's microphone stand literally broke, and he's holding his microphone. And it's a big
a bum arm.
Big fat blue Yeti microphone, and he's got a bum arm, and it's really hard for him. We amazingly made that terminal episode over 50 minutes with Mike holding the microphone, and that went great. So,
loved it.
But I won't keep you long tonight, Mike. But okay,
before
final
we go,
thoughts.
though,
Final thoughts. So yes, go ahead.
Okay, just before the final thoughts, I got to do this real quick.
Sure.
The story behind teddy bears.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so there was a photo that was not a photo, but a drawing that was made of Teddy Roosevelt out in the woods, and there's a bear with him. I don't know the whole story behind that, but that was seen by an illustrator or something like that. Anyway, from that, the teddy bear was made. The original teddy bear looks like a Stife teddy bear, which are very valuable, worth a lot of money, very collectible. And that's where the teddy bear came from. An honor, a tribute to Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, thank you. That's awesome.
So, anyway, and final thoughts.
This has been an informative episode.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
My final thoughts are, something definitely happened. And I agree with you about the violent content of it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
That's the only part that just doesn't.
But I just know that it has happened. It's extremely rare. It doesn't mean that it can't happen. But then again, there's the thought of, well, was it actually a grizzly bear? And they did see something that it was actually a Bigfoot. But when they come back to their camp and he comes back to camp and sees it destroyed, somebody dead, they saw the Bigfoot, he saw the Bigfoot, gonna blame it on what he saw. Didn't see a bear around there, but a bear could have came and did exactly what happened.
That's very true. Yeah, another good point.
So those points that we covered like that, and that's basically how I feel. I mean, to me, I think it was an actual Bigfoot sighting. And
I concur. I definitely think something out of the ordinary was seen, specifically a Sasquatch. And again, the story impressed upon Teddy so much that he included it in his own book. So I can't emphasize that enough. I've repeated that about 9,000 times, but it's important. It's an important part of that.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. I just love the whole idea of it. And if you want to see Teddy Roosevelt, there's a certain day during the summertime in Medora.
The real Teddy Roosevelt?
There's like 20 of them.
20 Teddy Roosevelts?
Yeah, and they're all dressed as like
they cloned them?
Different time periods of Roosevelt's life and everything. And I talked to the presidential Teddy Roosevelt when I was there once, and it was
you need to be clear, Mike, that you're not talking about the actual Teddy Roosevelt, because he passed away a long time ago.
He did. But boy, I tell you, these guys, they look like him, and they dress the part, and they totally act the part. They don't slip at all.
That's awesome, man.
They stay in character like you wouldn't believe. It's really cool.
Well, some people who never have to stay in character, because we are just simply characters, you and I, Mike. This has been another blast.
I try to get out of this character, and it won't let me.
Oh, come on now.
It's the voices in my brain. They won't let me.
Well, that's why we're ending it. That's why we're ending it tonight.
The only voice I got in my head is yours, Patrick.
Yeah, I know, and that's what keeps you up at night.
The ethers.
Oh, Mike has nightmares hearing my nasally voice. Podcast ideas.
Your voice is just fine. The worst part about your voice is you complaining about it all the time.
I'll shut up. Well, thanks, buddy, for making this work.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I will get the terminal episode published shortly. And until next time, Mike, what do our awesome Patreon family members need to do?
Peace out, please.